Well, good morning, everybody, and welcome to Cowboy Church. My name is Brant Clark, and I am 100% honored that even though I wasn't able to be with you guys this weekend, that Mark thought enough of some of my perspectives of the world to still host Cowboy Church. And so he asked me on Tuesday to put something together. And one of the great skill sets that I have in life is procrastination. So it's a Sunday morning. It's a beautiful Sunday morning here in Michigan. And I'm just inside my barn. I just got done doing chores and all night drive. I'll take me a little nap here in a little bit. But I wanted to speak for just a second this morning. So again, thank you guys for being here. I hope your horse show is going great. Mark and Travis do such a great job with that show, and yeah, I'm really sorry that I missed it. So I have always been an avid student of the horse, and I'm extremely interested in how our interactions with him have affect him in his body, his mind, his spirit. And I think sometimes it might be a little egotistical to think that I benefit the horse or that I help him. Most of the time, I tell most of my people that we're just parasites. We're just absorbing energy. And so I've started what will probably be a lifelong study on the effects of humans and horses. And one of the most miraculous designs for the horse is the fact that he does have the tools to be able to carry a rider. And if you look at the horse with just his own body, he has zero problems navigating the world. He can turn, he can spin, he can accelerate, he can do all of those things. And the challenge for him is where we sit on the middle of his back. And sometimes you probably heard me talk about this at other church services before. But when we sit in the middle of the horse, we sit in his weakest place. We don't sit in his strongest place, over his hip or over his shoulder, or we don't sit over top of the pillars. We sit in the middle of this suspension bridge. And the first thing that happens is this collapse that happens in the horse's back. And we've kind of navigated that a little bit with saddles and learning how to displace that weight evenly. And the more we educate, the more science kind of develops. We're trying to stay maybe over the rib cage and float out past those ribs with less pressure. And Todd J would probably be a better guy to talk about saddle fit than I am. But that's the first thing that happens to the horse. The second thing that happens to the horse is not only do we sit in his weakest place, we also sit slightly to the front. So we cause him to distribute his weight unevenly. And in that distribution process, he is slightly heavier to the front than he is to the back. And so that, if you look at that in a nature's perspective, is a defensive posture for the horse. If he was going to buck, this is what I learned from being a saddle bronc rider in the rodeo. If you had a horse that was not real strong at bucking, you could kind of lower your hand a little bit, maybe pull on him and just get his head to come down a little bit more and take a little bit more weight on the front, and he could kick higher, he could spook, you could do name whatever defensive posture you want to, but he could do all of those things. And if you had a horse that wanted to buck real hard, you could lift maybe a little bit higher and maybe pick his head up a little bit and maybe take away some of that defensive postureness in him. So that, just the fact that we sit in a weakest spot and we sit slightly to the front, the horse is already at a giant handicap, right? And we as riders spend years, or at least we should spend years, developing the muscles and the understanding of his body to be able to redistribute the weight of the rider, let alone do a task, but just to be able to do it comfortably. So much has to happen inside the horse's body for him to realize that he can do this. And sometimes you see different personality types with horses. Some horses will feel that change and just kind of invert inside, and we call those good horses, right? Oh, he's just a good old soul, right? But truthfully, he inverts inside himself, and he just says it is what it is, and maybe he tries and changes a little bit or not. And then you have the complete opposite side of the spectrum, which is a horse that when they feel that collapse, they just lose their mind. That's it. I want out of this situation. This sucks. And I, as a horseman, have tried to look at each horse's personality and say, okay, some horses we need to introduce this very, very slow, let them find it, let it be their idea. And some horses, you have to present a large amount of information and let him just kind of sort through it and figure out what he needs to do. I've always said that you can't argue with a fear-based training system. And you probably could look out in the arena at any point at this weekend and see a guy that operates in fear-based systems. Fear-based systems work. The problem when you have a fear-based system is retention. When a horse is in a reactive mindset, he doesn't retain information. He's just surviving. And to some extent, like my dad used to argue with me about that, and he said, yeah, but when a horse walks under a certain tree and sees a cougar and it attacks him, he remembers that tree. So he did retain information, and I totally understand that. So yes, there is some retention in reactionism, but for the most part, I want that horse to be able to process that information and become cognitive and aware of his body and what's happening around him in his environment without feeling overwhelmed. And the farther that you go in this process and the more that we start to ask of these horses, the more that really becomes an important quality. So, okay, Brant, thanks for the great training advice or whatever. It might not even be training advice, but how does that retain to Cowboy Church? Well, I think that God probably does the same thing, right? Every person has a little bit different personality, and he gives you what he thinks you can handle. And sometimes there's a job that needs to get done that might need more. But God is not going to sit on your strongest attributes, the things that you feel like your character is the strongest in. That's not where he's going to go to. He's going to go to the weakest place. He's going to sit in the middle of that back, and he's going to cause that collapse. And not only is he going to cause that collapse, he's also going to cause that maybe you to become in a defensive posture towards God. And God is okay with himself with you being defensive against him. It's really funny as I look back, and this is why I'm so hooked on all of this, is as I look back through my walking period, in the beginning, I was that horse that just maybe pestered God at the fence, right? Like I was that guy that was like, hey, I want to do this, right? And then he took me in and he showed me some really nice people and some nice places. But then when he gave me a job to do, I just collapsed. I had no tools, I had no skill set. I just had a little bit of desire and a little bit of want to accept the saddle, but I had no idea what to do with the collapse. I had no idea what to do with the distribution problem, and I just kind of went inside. I did what I see so many horses do. I just went inside and said, well, this is what you do. This is how it is. And I didn't necessarily find joy in my work until God allowed me to go through this gauntlet of feelings, and then starts to take on each individual issue and allowed me to think through those problems and allowed me to be mad and allowed me to be upset and still held me accountable to say, yeah, here, you got to do this, right? I've set up all of these great things. There's so much work that has to be done on this enormous round ranch that we call Earth, right? And sometimes you're going to be eating grass, and sometimes you're going to be stuck in a stall. Sometimes you're going to be in a trailer from going from one place to another, and sometimes there's a job that has to get done. And the job that is before you, while we are in these transitioning phases, I'm going to help you work through these problems so that when the time comes that you got to cut that cow, when you got to make that run on that long fence to get ahead of him, you know exactly how to use your body, the tools that I gave you, everything. And when it feels overwhelming, you are not going to just spit the bit. And God's the greatest bucking horse rider in the world. You cannot buck him off. And you can't make him upset because he loves you so much that he would die for you. He would send his only son from heaven to earth to experience what he had because that's how committed he is to this relationship, right? I have so many customers that I have to remind myself of that little phrase because I'll say, why are you so committed to this horse? Right? He's bucked you off, he's run away with you, he's hurt you, he's put you in the hospital. And I wouldn't maybe put up with that, but they say, no, I'm committed to this relationship and I have to have respect for that because God is like that with me. He's been so committed to me even when I was like, I don't even know if you're real. I don't even know, how could any of this, right? Why would a God do this? Why would a God allow this to happen? You're in control of all of this. And he said, I know, but I'm developing you for something of a greater purpose, whether it be on this world or the next. He's constantly working and developing with the greatest amount of patience. And so that is what I tell my horse customers, and what I would encourage you to do is you're going to see some failures this weekend. But analyze those failures and set up situations where he's going to be successful. You can't define success without defining failure first. So those failures, those times that you come out of that pen with your head down because, oh man, I really screwed that up, or come out and you're angry because, oh, my horse really didn't listen. And you say, well, without those moments, we wouldn't really truly understand what we need to work on to make this successful over here. And God has given you the tools just like he gave the horse the tools. He's got the core muscling. He's got that beautiful neck that works as a lever to be able to redistribute weight forward and backwards and allows him to be as fast as he can be running and then stop, turn, and run the other direction. God gave all the horse the tools that he needed to make that happen with the weight of the rider, with the burden that he was going to put on his life. And he's given that to you at some place, some time. But if you're reactive, you're probably not going to retain information. And so being able to step back from that for a moment and look around and be thankful for not only the good things, but the bad things is a skill set that I'm still working on. And that would be my challenge for you guys today, is to continue to work on that. Enjoy each other. Have a wonderful show. I hope that when you leave here, your heart is just filled with joy and gratitude towards being able to be with community and friends and people that all of you guys share this great passion together. And I hope you guys keep continuing to share that all over. I miss you guys, and hopefully I will see you next year.